Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Those Coffee People podcast, coming to you straight from Medellin, Colombia. In today's episode, we're gonna be looking at the future of coffee sourcing and where this is headed with a direct from origin sourcing model. My name is Louisa, and our guest today is Mattie from Sage Marie's Coffee and Tea. They source their coffee from Cape Verde through the direct trade model and Sage Mary's roast to order using the traditional hand roasting techniques. Well, to me, that sounds very incredible. You have built a business around intention and quality, and you focus a lot on coffee, tea, and beauty. So yeah, Mattie, I'm so happy you're here with me and you're able to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here.
Yeah, so let's jump into it. Well, basically, the traditional coffee model is very long, right? Like it's a long supply chain of a lot of intermediaries in between, a lot of people in between, coffee moving fast in large quantities, but also taking like up to weeks or months or like whatever time in between to get to like the final destination. Well, the system has been the foundation of coffee trade, and it's important that it has been there, I think, because well, otherwise we wouldn't have the industry that we have today. So it's like the how you say the what we are building right now.
Right.
But it also comes with like some complexities and some less good things, let's say.
Yes, that's desirable.
Exactly. So we've needed these big players in the past, but like right now we're also finding a way to like make newer ways to go more direct, more towards the source. And now with global barriers being lower than ever, and you can just like send a credit card payment to wherever in the world, and it's been so easy
Right.
right now.
Right. When I first started, it was so hard. I started back in 2011
Mm-hmm.
and, it was like I was blown away by like how it was such a network that was so hard to get into, you know? So I started off with the mindset of I'm going to have to create my own path in this
Yes.
and figure out where I fit in this world because I knew I wasn't going to be conventional. Just when I started, it was just such an good old boys network type
Yes.
situation. And I was like, I don't fit in here. So I'm going to have to blaze my own trail and figure it out. And so that's basically how I got started. I was like, I didn't know much, but I knew that I had a love for coffee. And actually roasting, I didn't really drink coffee that much. Growing up, I watched my mom roast coffee in the oven. It was her love for coffee that took me in this direction.
That's so
So
beautiful.
I really had to take time to learn everything I needed to learn about coffee, the origins, the different flavor profiles. I really was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to really deep dive into it and really understand what it is that I'm doing.
Well, I agree. And I find it very beautiful that you started with like seeing your mother roasting the beans. I think that's
Yeah.
so nice to see that, like from a
Yeah.
family perspective, like having that as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom, she worked she worked in labor and delivery for 45 years. She delivered babies in Boston, Massachusetts. So she used to stand on her feet in the OR all day. So she would start her day with dripping her coffee. She would get up an hour early just to drip her coffee in the morning. And I was like, just go to Dunkin' Donuts or just go to and get a cup of coffee. What's the big deal? And she said to me, you will never know good coffee until you roast your own. So the ladies that would clean up the ORs, they were from these beautiful countries like Honduras and, Dominican Republic and Jamaica. And so my mom was friends with a lot of the ladies and they would ask her when they would go home on vacation, what do you want me to bring you back? And she would say, just bring me beans. Just bring me raw beans. So every time they went home, they would get some raw beans and bring them back for her. And these were the beans that I used to watch her roast at home.
I love that. I think that for me personally, like I'm not from Colombia, but we are located here in Colombia. For me, this is like a way of how I see coffee as well. Like coffee is like a way of sharing culture and of being part of a culture as well, I think. And to really connect with people as well, like even if they're not from your home country or whatever, like it's a way for me also to connect with you while you're like not even in Colombia, you're in the United States. So
Right,
I
right.
think it's a
I call it drinking in moments.
oh, I like that. Yes.
You know, we came up with that tagline years ago because I said nobody actually takes time to drink in moments anymore. It just pause in the middle of the day to have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Everybody used to do this. Why did we get away from this? So let's get back to drinking in moments.
Right. Right. I totally
Yeah.
agree. I remember when coffee shops used to be something social. You would go there for like just like social talk. And now
Yes.
it's just you and your phone.
Yes.
And I don't know. I totally agree with what you're saying. Um, so moving a little bit into like your sourcing model and how you work with people from Cape Verde, like how have logistics or like technology and sourcing platforms like evolved to make direct from origin sourcing possible? Like smaller businesses, not like the big corporates, but for smaller businesses like you.
So my business partner, Liza Gonzalez, her family is actually from the island of Fogo, Cape Verde. And her dad introduced us to Cape Verde Fogo coffee. He said, you got to get coffee from Fogo. The beans are incredible. They grow on the side of a volcanic mountain, and the volcanic ash, gets into the dirt, and the coffee beans are amazing. And I was like, he's explaining it to me, and I'm like, we need these beans. We need these beans. So my business partner, Liza, was visiting the country, and I said, Liza, you got to secure the beans. You got to get the beans. And she was like, okay, I'm going to figure it out. We're going to figure out how we're going to do this. So she visited a coffee conglomerate in Fogu, which is called Fogu Spirit. She visited there and toured their facility. She got to see, okay, this is a great place to source beans. They do not import to the US. So we were like, wow, we're going to have to figure this out because, how are we going to get the beans if they don't import here? So they kind of struck up a deal with us on the side. No one from the US was importing beans at the time. So her dad knew some folks there that made it possible for us to get beans. So we were like, great, we got this great deal. And, we would get, a pallet, and we thought we were good. But again, when you're dealing with a big conglomerate, things can change. And a larger company came in and bought the rights to the green beans, which didn't allow us to get it any longer. So we were panicked because we had based our house roast on this bean. So we were like, okay, we got to figure this out. We weren't doing a single origin at the time, but I was like, I'm going to do a blend because I feel like, this might be hard to get at some point. So we might want to do a blend just so we can hold on to as much of our pool that we were building our stash of beans, so to speak. So I was like, I want to keep the inventory in house. I don't want to ever run out of the bean. So let me create a blend. So we decided once we couldn't get the bean any longer from the distributor, we said, let's figure this out. So she literally hit the pavement and started talking to people, and they told her to go to the market
Mm-hmm.
and go and talk to the vovos. In Cape Verde, vovo means grandmother. So they said, go talk to the grandmothers at the market. And these are the people who pick and dry the beans themselves. So she went to the market. She met some beautiful women, and we struck up a deal directly with the farmers, and we get the beans directly from them. I know where the money's going. I know who's picking my beans. I know that I'm helping them stay in business, and it is just a great relationship. We have a company there that they import, products. So they import small batches of it for us. And that's how we now source our bean from Cape Verde.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So wait, 1 second. You said something about like the grandmas of the town, like really
Yes.
like picking the beans. They are the ones.
They're the ones who pick the beans, they dry the beans, and then they come to the market and they sell them in the market. And we actually have some photos from the market and some of the ladies that were in the market that day when she went to visit, and they're actually holding the bag of beans. It's like incredible. Yeah.
So the women there are basically in charge of picking the beans. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say that. Everyone that we've come across in the market selling the beans are women. There are probably, some men thrown in there, but we do like our business is all women ran.
Right.
We're an all woman team. So we kind of do like the fact that it's the bobos that pick the beans.
Yes.
But I don't want to cut the guys out.
No, 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 of course. But it's just, I asked because, like, usually it's a lot of, like, it's a male dominated industry. And
Yeah.
to hear that, like, the grandmas there, like, the fofas are they called? Are going, are the ones actually doing that. For me, that's really, really, really nice. I really like
Right.
that.
It's incredible.
And I think it's also like a community then, because then you can just easily
Yeah.
exchange, like, experiences.
Right. And that is what coffee culture is. It's a community,
Yes.
and I just feel like when you are authentic about what you do, the authenticity shows.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, you know, going to Cape Verde, my business partner going to Cape Verde and going to the market, that's authentic to me. And that's what I'm about. I want everything I do to be authentic.
I completely agree. And I think it's also showing because, I mean, when you said that, for example, no one else had even imported this from them before, I was like, wow, this is like such a
Yeah.
great like opportunity. And also
Yeah.
having your business partner from there, like really creates this connection, I think.
It really does. Whenever I do something when we have events or we do pop-ups, I always say to her, let's make sure it's authentic. I want the Cape Verdean vibe,
Yes.
And I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, where there is a large Cape Verdean community there.
Okay.
And most of my friends are Cape Verdean.
Wow.
Are Cape Verdean. So, and it's a wonder that I do know some words. I do speak Creole a little bit, but we also partner with Mila Mila, and they are based in Cape Verde as well. And Manuel Gonzalez, he actually wrote the first Cape Verdean to English dictionary.
Yes.
And so we do partner with them as well. So the authenticity stays intact, and he keeps me on track because he's very good. He's very good. But he's also my business partner's father. So, yeah, so he makes sure that when I have a question about, am I doing this correctly? And he'll give me direction.
So
So,
was this also the person who made the dictionary? Like you told me in our
yes.
call about the dictionary.
Yes.
Oh, I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they're actually they just finished the new dictionary that's coming out, and I should have my copy soon, the English to Cape Verde version. So now you'll be able to look at the Cape Verde to English and then the English to Cape Verde version. So it's actually like we partner sometimes, we do events, we pair the dictionary with the coffee. It's incredible.
So, well, you can say that you're surrounded by people who are very inspirational.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I also the way that we roast is a little less, it's not it's traditionally roasting, but we roast by hand.
So how does that work?
Yeah. So how it works is that I do batches at a time.
Yes.
So what people do, we sell online. We're like, consider ourselves a high-end, brand of coffee.
Yes.
So you kind of get to specialize, your experience. So you can go to our website, you can choose your bean, you can pick your roast, and then we roast and ship within 48 hours.
Wow.
So what it looks like is we do each order by batch. And so if you order Ethiopian blend that we have, we roast by hand and we package and ship. And we
Traditional
do it
style.
all in-house.
Okay, cool.
So that's what our model kind of looks like. I traditionally learned how to traditionally roast by hand from Ethiopian women. Our lead barista, her name is Eden. And Eden is actually from Anitra, which is in Ethiopia. And I met Eden in my travels when I first developed my blends. I now live in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start off with writing down every single mom and pop coffee shop here in Charlotte. And I'm going to go to each one and I'm going to pitch them to carry my brand. So I of course, I had about 20 coffee shops on my list. Of course, I went to all of them and I had no's from the door. You know, it was like I was on my 15th no when I actually arrived at Eden's shop. She had a coffee and hookah bar. And I went in to pitch, and one of the ladies that worked there, her English wasn't that great, but she said, my business partner, her English is better than mine, come back. And I said, okay. And when I came back, I pitched them again, and they kind of were like, okay, you know, they said, do you have Ethiopian coffee? And I said, yes, I do. And I gave them a bag, and they were like, okay. They said, wow, if you want to learn how to do coffee,
Mm-hmm.
come back. We'll invite you to come back and we will show you how to do coffee because
Cool.
coffee originated in Ethiopia.
Yes.
And I was like, really? So I got to do some more homework because didn't know that. And I'll be back. So I came back and they did what's called a coffee ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have never experienced a coffee ceremony before, it will blow your mind. I was like, where in the world is this being done? And why haven't I seen this before? And she told me, you know, we start off at like 8 or 9 years old learning how to roast coffee.
It's like
So
a
I was like,
tradition
really?
handed down.
Yeah, it's traditionally handed down. And to be invited to a coffee ceremony, it's a very prestigious thing.
Is it sacred as
And
well?
there's music, there's food, little snacks, you know, and there's an entire setup and you sit around while you watch the women roast coffee. And it's beautiful. They burn this beautiful incense and it's like, you know, it's all your sensors, the sensory is just, it's incredible. And they roast the coffee right there in front of you, grind it right in front of you, cook it in a clay pot in front of you. And it is the most exquisite taste you'll ever experience. If you are a coffee connoisseur, this is what you want to get invited to.
It's such
So
a
I
unique
said to
experience.
myself, I have to figure this out. I have to figure out how to incorporate this into my business model because this is incredible and we need to show people this. So again, to keep it authentic, Eden actually ended up coming on board with Sage Marie's and becoming our lead barista. So she is the reason why I know so much about how to roast by hand. She taught me all of the secrets and it's amazing. It's incredible.
That's such a cool story. Like, it's such a
Yeah.
unique experience as well. And now to be working with her again, I think, wow.
Yeah.
So
So we also import beans from Ethiopia. And if you ask me, one of the best coffees you will ever taste is Ethiopian coffee roasted by hand.
I have never had the chance to try it, but now you certainly like made me want to try this.
Yeah. You know, there's always the debate around the world who has the best coffee, right? And I'm sure you'll always hear someone say, it's Brazil, it's here, it's there, but hands down in my book, Ethiopia.
Okay.
Because why wouldn't Ethiopia be the best at the coffee when it originated in Ethiopia? They know how to do coffee. So when you taste that coffee for the first time, and it's really a little tiny cup because it's the way they cook it is just, it's top notch. Top notch. I haven't had a cup that's been better. I chase that taste all the time.
And like, so I kind of like want to connect two things. And I'm not sure if there's a connection. I'm not sure if there is. But did you, by any chance, also like how you say, like, give your mother some of like the coffees that you roasted yourself?
Yes, yes, I did. I did. So when I first started off, the first blend, I knew my mom was the queen of coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I was going to have to prove myself to her first
Right.
to know whether I'm doing a good job or not. So when I started my roasting, I would send her, the blends to test. And, I didn't get it right all the time. First couple of blends she was like, this is not it. Nope, nope, nope. Go back to the drawing board. So yeah, she was my taste tester because she's a tough critic. And she has her favorites, her favorite is Blue Mountain
Mm-hmm.
from Jamaica. So I had to top that in order for her to, say you're doing a good job. So I did when I came up with our signature blend, which is the Cape Verde blend, the Fumata.
Yes.
She is the first person that tried it and told me, she said, Mattie, this is phenomenal. And when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh. She was like, that is it. That's it. You did it. And so I was like, okay, leave this roast alone. It's where it needs to be. She's my gauge always. Yeah.
I think that's great because then you can, like, she gave you coffee, I think, as a child, and I can give her coffee, and it's like a good like exchange of like how the coffee moves.
They call me the coffee heiress and they call her the queen of coffee. And my business partner, Liza, is the Duchess of Sage Marie. So it's really it's a fun experience.
Oh, I bet, because it's also like an experience of where you do something like trial and error, right? Like it's not like like one thing it's gonna work and then it's gonna work like this forever. No, you always have to be
Yeah,
present, and you have to put like a lot of time and focus on doing the right thing,
definitely.
especially doing it by hand, I think.
Definitely. And when you know, again, I never did anything traditionally when it comes to coffee. And I mean, when in my learning process, I talked to so many people that told me that this wasn't going to work, and that, I needed to roast in a roaster, to get that even, your roast is never going to be even, and I'm like, doesn't need to be. And I would just, I would say that not knowing, knowing that that's not how it works. But I was like, what we're going to do is going to blow everybody's mind because it's going to be different. I've never fit in a, box ever. I am a outside the box kind of gal. So I didn't care about, you can't mix those beans. You can't mix that blend. That's not traditionally done that way. And I would say, well, we're going to break the mold. We're going to break tradition. We're going to break tradition and bring in, something new.
I love
And
that.
who says that these two beans can't be blended together and taste good?
No, but honestly, like the taste of beans and how you prefer it, it's so personal. Like I can say, oh yeah, this is my favorite bean, and you could say like, oh, I do not like that. I prefer the other one.
Right, right.
It's very personal.
I often, say the regions that I chose, the beans that I chose to put together in the Fumata blend, and that is our Cape Verde blend,
Mm-hmm.
are not traditionally, you don't traditionally mix those three beans together. So it was kind of like they were like, "Oh, you need a Brazilian bean in that blend." And I was like, "Mm-mm,
Think so.
doesn't need it." So when everybody tastes that blend, they're like, and I'm talking coffee gurus. They're like, "What is this?" And so it always blows their mind. And I always have people come back and tell me, I had a young man from Switzerland
Mm-hmm.
stop by our coffee pop up at we do events for the UN.
Yeah.
And he came by our coffee bar for the fifth time that day. And he said, I told them that the only reason why I come to this conference every year is to see you girls. Because he was like, I come to the US all the time, but this is the best coffee I've ever had in the US. So it just warmed my heart because I was like, oh my gosh, like all of the hard work that we put into creating this brand and these blends, that when you get that one person that tells you how much it changed their day or changed their life, and my coffee made them feel good, that's all. My day is complete. You know,
Yes.
I just wanted to create something that brought joy to people's lives,
And you
and I
succeeded.
achieved it. So I achieved it with that blend.
Yes. No, definitely. Congratulations. I think
Thank
that's
you.
also like a thing to say that, well, you did a good job at like trusting your instincts and saying like, I
Yeah.
know what I want and I know how to get it.
Yeah. And it was funny when one of the first times I actually roasted the blend, my business partner, Liza, she's in New York, and she lived in this old piano factory that they gutted out and made into lofts.
Mm-hmm.
And her neighbor downstairs from her, he was a commercial photographer. So his loft was set up to, you could roll a car into it off the elevator, and take pictures of the car in the loft. It was a really cool space, but he was somewhat of a coffee aficionado. So he had this major coffee setup. It looked like a coffee shop on like one side of his wall. And it was like, wow, he had the chemistry set. He had every single piece of equipment to actually make coffee. So he would, make it different ways. If he felt like he wanted it this way today, he would make it this way. And he had a beautiful espresso machine. So when I bought the blend, my girlfriend said, let's go downstairs and let him prepare it. And it was actually going to be my first time tasting my blend the way that it should be made. And he made the coffee and he made a cappuccino. I took the first sip and I legitimately cried because I couldn't believe it. I didn't put anything in it. It was just a cappuccino, and I took a sip and I like paused and I was like, I created this. This is amazing. It was the best cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. So I was like, this is incredible. I did this. And it was like bawling. It was so emotional.
I bet because like it's like a baby, right? Like you created
Yeah.
it. It's like
It was like
it's
seeing my baby
yes.
come full circle. Yeah. It was great.
So hey, I actually have a question. How like focusing it like a little bit on like what you do and how your customers view.
They do value other things, but what I hear most from my customers is they love the experience. So it's like we offer an experience. And I tell people that all the time. I don't sell coffee, I sell an experience. So when you come to our website, you're going to see coffee, tea, and beauty.
Yes.
And we decided to branch into the beauty side of business because our coffee's good for your skin.
Mm-hmm.
And so in some of my tea products, the lavender, you know, the ginger, things like that, that's good for you too.
Yes.
So I was like, I think we should come up with a line of coffee products for your skin. I developed a whole line of beauty products that have our coffee and our teas in them. It's kind of an apothecary kind of line, artesian. It's a very artisanal. We do everything by hand. The same way we do our coffee is the same way we do our beauty products as well, coffee. So I think our customers come to us because they're like, we can get coffee, we can get beauty, we can get tea all in one spot, You would think that like people wouldn't be able to make their mind, but what I do is I don't offer too many options under each one because people start to get confused and
Yes.
they start to, wander and they're like, oh, I can't make up my mind. So I give them poignant, points. And when you go to our site, you can choose. It's giving a person a choice and allowing them to choose their own idea is what we lead them to. Like, Liza does a very good job with our marketing and we target our market audience. So, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But the people that it's for, they come in droves. They come in droves.
No, I bet I would be a customer if I lived in the States, I think. So no,
Yeah.
I totally.
If you don't like the coffee, you're going to like the beauty. If you don't like the beauty, you're going to like the tea. If you don't like the tea, you're going to like the coffee.
There's something for
So,
everybody, let's say.
yeah. Or you're going to like all of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I have a final question, which is like, Well, you already have established a really, really good direct trade model, right? With partners in Cape Verde, with the US, with Ethiopia. You said that's truly very inspiring.
Thank you.
Do you think, well, if would be like the future of sourcing coffees, right? How can more roasters go towards that model instead of using like a traditional model that they're currently using?
Well, what I say, you gotta go boots on the ground. You gotta go to these countries and meet people and talk to different people. If there are any importers in your area, it's good to talk to the importers. I found a coffee importer that's an hour and 45 minutes from me, and I just drove up there and I met them and just talked to them and talked to them about, how do you guys source your beans? And they would tell me, they would talk to me about how they source their beans, and I would buy beans from them. Just you have to immerse yourself into the network, and that's how you figure it out. I prefer, like, sometimes it's a little scary. You could go to a country that you don't really know much about, and the coffee game is a little, deep.
Yes.
People protect their trade secrets, they guard them. So, it's not easy, but I think a lot of times people will start to come to you when you kind of like chart your path. So I think where it's going in the future is you're going to see more small mom and pop roasters and mom and pop coffee shops. You're going to start seeing them roasting on their own and kind of going to countries and talking to people directly. I prefer sourcing from you go to the source. I like sourcing directly from the farms because you don't know whether they're getting their just due. Sometimes there's so much minutia that you have to sometimes go through when dealing with importers, and people are not always kind. So I say boots on the ground and dig your heels in and really go and visit these countries and learn about the traditions and learn about the places that you're going to visit, and learn about their countries and learn about what makes the experience what it is here, and honor that tradition and honor that experience. And I think you'll start to see more people wanting to directly deal with smaller businesses by just creating relationships.
And then we're coming back to Colombia coffee being a relationship and connecting.
Yeah. Yeah, go and sit down. Go to the market and sit down and have a cup of coffee with them and talk.
How would you deal, or what would you recommend them with, like, language barriers, let's say? For example, someone only speaks English,
Well,
but
it's always good to have somebody, a translator. That works best for me.
yes,
Just so happens that, the people that I am in business with, they're from these countries and they speak the language.
yes.
And so it's usually good to have someone who actually speaks the language. And it's also good to try to learn, don't be afraid to try to jump in and speak another language. I can tell you that I'm terrible with it, but I at least try,
It's
like
the
if
effort.
I go to another country, I'm going to respect that country, and you know, people come to the US and they have to learn English. So why is it that you can't go to another country and have to learn Spanish or have to learn Creola or have to learn French,
Right.
I feel like it is a direct slap in the face to not, at least try
Yes.
to, immerse yourself in the culture and really, learn whatever you can learn. So I say start off with a translator. Google Translate, I'm sorry, is great. I use it a lot. There's so many translator apps on your phone that you can use nowadays that are coming out. But, I say be respectful and really dig your heels in, and before you go over, try, learning a little bit. Or sometimes I'll take a little book with me, or I'll find a dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
And that just comes from my friend, her dad doing, and I was like, that's a great idea. You can get little pocket dictionaries and just learn how to say certain words. There's so many ways to get around the language barrier that I think that in this day and age, back when I started, no. But now you can definitely get over the language barrier. If you really want it bad enough, you will. You'll figure it out.
Well, thank you so much for your insights today. They've been so it's been incredible, honestly, to hear more about your perspective and your way of working and the partners you chose to work with and everything. So before we end this episode, is there anything else you want to share?
I just tell everybody again, just drink in moments, take a moment to breathe. And we always say taste is everything. That is our motto. Start your day with joy and start your day with something great. Start with sage. Start your day with sage. So, I just want, to share my gift with the world, and so I say, do something kind, stop and take in a moment, if you're going to do it with style, and also try to slow down and just enjoy life a little bit. You can't rush luxury. So if you want a luxury experience, you can't rush that. So stop and pause and take in a moment.
I think that's a really, really good way to close this episode, and to thank you for being a guest here.
Thank you for
taking the
having me.
time.
I really do appreciate it being here today, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys think that I'm somewhat cool.
We think you're very cool. All right. Well, to the listeners, thank you guys so much for listening, and to the watchers as well. And yeah, until the next episode.